you should be looking for a spouse that's going to, you guys are going to be in a similar class, whether that's a socioeconomic class or, status. It's irrelevant as long as you know what you're dealing with up front. And again, the marrying age is 25. Now you have a couple of years where you guys can plan out how you want your life to go, plan out how you want, how you want to raise your children before that actually happens. And because if you currently, the system now is that we're gonna wait till after we're 30, and then as soon as we get married, well, I want kids, and then we're gonna rush right into that, and then before, so we don't run into geriatric pregnancy, and then before you know it, we got these kids here, and we don't know. We'll just go to school, but now, we got all this other stuff that we want to do, and we don't have time for it because we're stuck at work trying to pay back the student loans that's drowning us in debt. And meanwhile, when we die, what we pass on to our kids, more debt. Vicious cycle, people. We got to do something about it. Welcome back to Money, Marriage, and Media. Today we are with She Critique. When you choose a woman who lacks class, guys, don't do that. Don't do that unless that's where you know what. No, let me rephrase that. If that's what your surroundings are, then yeah. If that's what your surroundings are when you're in your mid to early 20s, that's probably that's the type of woman you qualify for. If you're marrying age and that's where you still are, then yeah, I would say go ahead and seek a wife, and you guys focus on building together. We may not, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get off topic before we even get started. So I may have to come back with something in the summer here, but let's keep going.
Okay, this is and I'm not saying anybody, it's just going to depend on the woman, because even with my son, this has to be the mother of your children.
Exactly.
When you choose the wrong woman, that's how you don't get to see your kids. Or that's the woman who's slashing your tire and doing crazy shit. So I would say, no, I want him to be with a certain caliber of a woman to avoid the drama. And this is the woman who is, she is the mother of your child. So that's just for me. I'm not projecting this on anybody. This is just how I feel.
So I agree with you, Shan. I think there's a difference in definition of class and the way that you're referring to it and the way the gentlemen are referring to it. So like class in terms of etiquette and how you conduct yourself, that I don't think that's what's being referred to. I think it's a socioeconomic class that they're talking about. Because you can find women who slash tires that are making six figures. Like, let's be really honest, right?
That's a fact.
Well, I don't think that, because I'm thinking she doesn't have class. Like, she doesn't have.
Yeah.
Same difference. Avoid either one.
Okay.
For me,
damn, my bad.
My sons, my son, I ain't got no more sons yet. But son, I don't really care. But like you say, he it's can't be nobody that's gonna keep kids away. None of that type of craziness. I'm gonna tap him like, nah, bro, that ain't the move.
Yeah,
but my daughter, I got daughters too, bro. I'm multifaceted.
Yeah.
For my daughters, bare minimum, they need to be able to survive on their own if they ever moved off of our living area. But I'm not really tripping about that. I don't want her to come back with no Carlton. I don't want her to come back with somebody that I'm just gonna be looking like this lame ass.
You know what, too?
Because
we gotta define class, because the problem we have right now is that a lot of women are looking down on men that are in their same class or above. They just don't have status, right? So I'm not going to accept her marrying down in class. I'm not going to let her exercise this false sense of status. If my daughter is a doctor, which she probably will, that's what it looked like she's going to want to do.
She like 3, right?
We do this in my culture. We do this. Trust me. We do this. She literally does volunteer hours.
This is what you're going to do.
She does volunteer hours at her mom's clinic already. So she's taking care of the babies with G-tubes already. So that's probably what, Daddy, I want to go back. Like, that's, so she's probably going to do that. I would absolutely let her marry an owner operator that has 2 trucks, because he makes $200,000. That's not marrying down in class.
Well, that's the same class.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. That's the class. Well, no, but women like to say lower class because it's lower status. We got to get that right.
Oh, no.
So status you don't care about. It's finances for you.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not letting her do that, especially as a black woman. how so many women are single. They just want they. In fact, let me say this because this is what I
I
didn't
have
get to
some
say on the
pushback
Eva
for
McKay
that.
Williams thing. Women are penalizing black women are penalizing black men for not being present in areas we never actually were present. Black women are present in media, law, what else? There and this is areas white men dominate. So because they don't see their own men represented there, they hold it against us, right? But black men are heavily represented in things that make money that just don't have that prestigious look of things, right? We
I just
and
want
not
more black
only
doctors. I
I
just want
agree
a
with
black.
that.
exactly
Here's the problem. This is why we have pushback. Is that yeah, okay? Your daughter's in the medical field and she's making 200K a year. How much student loan debt does she have? A lot of times when we talk about women who are, who are earning a substantial amount of money, right? Most of the time, it comes with an exorbitant amount of student loan debt. So their net worth is negative. And most of the time, women do not, because they don't know numbers like that, they're not trying to pay off the debt. This is the sad reality where we're at. So I think that while I agree with Trigger Mike, I also think that this is where it gets tricky, because I think we may need to start looking at this. This is off the top of my head. We may need, instead of doing what they're talking about, we may need to start looking at net worth. What is your net worth? Yeah, you're a doctor and you make 200K a year, but if your net worth is negative $80,000, or no, I'm sorry, it's you got to go to medical school. It could be negative $180,000, and you're making 200K a year. You're broke. So I think the best case scenario might be in that situation where you just marry. You need to find a man who has a positive net worth. A average man is making his net worth. The average black man's net worth is 17,000. I'm not. What I'm saying is that in situations like this, because they are so rare, you may benefit from marrying a more average man versus somebody who has like what Mike is talking about. You just have to be the breadwinner, and you have to trust that, and you would marry a man who is leading with the dime, self-discipline, integrity, morals, and ethics. And going forward, what would need to happen is that you guys need to sit down with the financial coach to help you clean up all your finances. But usually, and the woman will have to be the breadwinner. Notice I didn't say leader. I said the breadwinner. The man's still the lead, but the woman's job is bringing in the finances. And the guy she would have to marry a guy who would be okay with her, providing the amount of income. Because the scenario Mike is talking about, that puts you in an awkward position. First off, you got to find a man who's making that kind of money. That's literally less than 10% of the population. You're closer to 3% of the population at that income. Now you got to hope that he's not married, that he's and that he's single and looking to get married. Like, the chances, you would do better to find a more average man who's going to lead with the dime, not his wallet. You guys, before you get married, you need to sign a prenup. Most definitely, both of you need to sign a prenup. Excuse me. But also, you need to be going through some kind of financial counseling or sessions with a financial coach. You need to get somebody, not a financial advisor, because that's totally different. That is not what you need at that point, because you have a negative net worth. You need to get with somebody who's a financial coach to help you clean up all that debt so that you can actually start building some wealth. But again, that's just my opinion. Again, previous career, 5 years working in financial services as a licensed coach. That's what I would mostly tell somebody as the best advice in that scenario. What Mike's talking about, in most cases, you're not going to meet that man. The man who makes 200K because he got 2 trucks. You're not going. The chances of you meeting that man and it working out and you making it down the aisle that's so far fetched. So far fetched. All right, let's keep going.
They just want, but
I want to
the part
be
that's really
the
part that's really offensive about that is that everything black women are doing, black men already did already.
Oh, for
There
sure.
were more black doctors that were men 30 years
They
ago.
were.
All black lawyers were men 30 years ago. So it's like, yes, they've disappeared because of, the infamous.
So Mike, that is my question. Well, not necessarily question, but something to what she was speaking to. And I don't want you to hear her voice when I'm saying this, even though she's the one that said it. But like you said, we're not seeing our men in these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that at one time they were.
Yep.
So my thing is, why isn't it is that push that we're saying for these men to do what they need to do to be in these spaces? Oh shoot!
Go protect your family. That's your job.
No, that was my damn. I'm black as hell, right? Give me a.
It's a show.
but what I was saying is that the talk around trying to encourage and push these men into these different spaces, like blue collar workers are needed. We are in those spaces.
Yeah.
But we are not in those other spaces as we move up the ladder for women who are trying to push their way into that area to have a suitable mate. So we do need to be pushing our men who are even in the blue class, area, that they are some very capable men to really be doctors, be lawyers,
I actually disagree. So I actually disagree, but here's why. I can break it down for you strategically. What men are represented in STEM? What groups of men? What ethnic group do they come from?
I would say Asian,
Middle Eastern, African. All of those men have fathers in their home. The lack of STEM jobs held by black men is a direct result of there being no fathers in the home. That it, like, literally, you see how I came up with that? Every man, because black men were doctors, black men were lawyers, all of these high jobs,
fathers in their home,
and they had their fathers in the house. So a kid's ability to reach and achieve in these academic areas is directly related to their fathers being in the house, because without him, their reading level is actually at 4th grade. So it's not just a black men don't achieve, black men don't want to. They are literally systemically been pushed out. And with the increase in single mother-led homes, somehow all these women have degrees. So women having degrees leads to the increase of their administrative job placement in the workforce. So they kind of already push men out too, because it's not just black men that are absent. Hispanic men are absent from these jobs. No Asian men are in media. Like, you see what I'm saying? So women want men in these jobs, but it's actually unrealistic for men to actually be in them.
And you know what? It pushes
that's
that.
The thing. I don't think it's unrealistic. I don't.
But the thing about it is, too, think about single moms. Because we've always said single moms, they have a tendency to raise their daughters but baby their sons. So just think about in our profession, it's never their fault. It's always your fault, or, oh, he didn't turn his work in. That's not his fault. Were you there when he tried to bring it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, even though the door closed at 2:30? Like, we do that. Black women do that. We're some enablers when it comes to our kids. Some of us, not all.
Yeah, that's true.
But and I hear what you're saying, Mike, but I think it's have been bigger now than ever in terms of opportunities for minorities to.
Okay, so we're leaving out a big portion of this, and the big portion of it is debt. There's black men's net worth 17,000. Black women's net worth is actually lower than that, and it's usually because of debt. Student loan debt is a big part of that. So while yes, these professions they're great to have. My attitude, even with my own daughters, is school is great if you have a way to pay for it. It's not worth going into debt over. It's not. You're going to go and get this prestigious job that pays lots of money only to have to spend a lifetime paying back the loan that we took out to get the same job. That is asinine. Don't do that. Find another way. This is why there's always a big push in our community for men to do blue collar work, because the buy-in is a lot less. You're not going you don't have 6-figure student loan debt we can use the trucking industry. That's a little bit different though, because you do take out a loan in a truck, but that truck is guaranteed income because it's directly part of your business. Whereas you taking out a student loan to go to medical school, you're not guaranteed a job when you finish. You're not guaranteed to pass your boards to get the license to get the job when you're done with school. Can't tell you how many times I've met a couple lawyers who, they finished law school, got all that debt, and they can't pass the bar. And then what you gonna do? So my thing, I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that you need to have a scholarship and a plan before you start going to take on thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. Plain and simple. So again, I'm not against us not being represented. Well, I'm not exactly for us being represented in those career fields, especially if you can't do it without taking on debt. It's not worth it. It's not. The when we get short staffed to the point where, yes, medical school, the price of medical school comes down, and also that there are more positions available, then I would say then go for it. But currently, no, find another way. There are plenty of ways. There are plenty of other things that you can choose as a career path beside that don't require you to take out mountains of student loan debt. Jesus, I can't even talk right now because thinking about paying back all that money, my God. Oh God, I paid off a student loan, and it is not fun, bro. Thousands and thousands of dollars just gone, and you don't get it back, and it's like, wow.
Be in these spaces. And I'm speaking from an educational perspective of being in the school system, of knowing the programs and stuff that are available because they are trying to recruit minorities because this field is so saturated in one group or, over another. So the opportunities are there, but a lot of times they're not, I can only speak from my experience, that a lot of them are not necessarily interested in going in that field.
No,
and I
nor
think
should they.
part of
Yeah.
it, I think part of it too is not really understanding the variety of jobs that fall under the umbrella of STEM.
So,
So it's a lack of exposure as well.
well, it's all under what I said because now you're starting to sound like I have to explain this to my wife too. So when I say it's a direct correlation, they actually need to. This is what I meant when me and Shan were talking about. She was like, "Are you going to let your kids go to college?" And I was like, "Yeah." I don't think the average black kid today should go to college. They do not. They weren't taught the habits in the home to be successful there. College is for smart people and rich people. College does not make you smart. It's where smart and intelligent people go to meet, congregate, and challenge ideas among other intelligent people. That's what it's for. It don't make you smart. So that's why I said their best chance is in the workforce. I got homies that make probably more than I do that started the shipyard and when we were in high school when they were 14 at the apprenticeship program. That's where they belong because school isn't for them. They didn't grow up in a way that taught them the habits to be able to do that successfully. It's not about
It's a different perspective, but he's saying the same thing that I just said. But I'm all here for it. I think this is good stuff.
them not being college educated or you're trying to, talk down to them. Where do they have the best chance at life? That's why I say if you're not going to fix the family first, we should not talk about black men being in high positions. They will not succeed there because let's talk about how you get to the doctor, to the engineer. The math involved. I teach math. People who are good at math are afraid of high level math that it takes to be able to qualify to take the MCAT, right? So,
But that's my point, is that there's more job in terms of exposure, is understanding the various jobs that fall under STEM. So everybody's not going to be the physicist. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be doing things like that, but there are other jobs within that field that may be more, aligned with their capabilities, but it's still, in a space where there aren't a lot of us represented there.
And I just want to pull out a point too. I don't know what it takes to be an IT guy, but if there's any state testing that is involved with this, if you're not a great test taker, which a lot of our kids are, unfortunately, from what I've seen, that will be a hump in the road. Would that not be a barrier?
There's certification tests involved, which are extensive. So yeah, you're right.
Right. So it would even take a certain type of mindset to even get through the program, right? It's not like just everybody can get through this program. I would assume, right?
Absolutely. You still have to be studious. Like I said, it all comes down to habits. When for some reason when fathers are present, you have a way better chance of having good habits taught to the children, to where they know how to stay with something and emulate their peers that are doing well. Because the one thing I don't want to happen, and this is actually what keeps happening with these programs that they put in the hood for kids to, these academic programs that they put in the hood, they don't realize these kids don't have the habits to maintain it. Work is disgusting to them. This is
okay. So one of the issues that I wanted to touch on that they didn't really, they kind of really just danced around is the fact of, well, they didn't really touch it at all. But this is a conversation that really revolves around generational wealth, and and it's a buzz term that I hate using, but the actual definition of it applies here. Generational wealth, all that is that you are ensuring that your kids are one step, or they are steps ahead of what you were when you were that age, right? So that being said, a lot of times what needs to happen within our families is that we as the parents, or that our generation needs to make the sacrifice in order to ensure that we are moving moving our family tree forward with wealth building. Too many times when I say wealth building or generational wealth, most people are just talking about they just want to get rich. That's not generational wealth. Like I said, I just said the definition for generational wealth. How it relates to this conversation about class. Well, if you're you and your family are not, y'all didn't grow up rich, you grew up working class poor. Okay, well, at age 25, you need to be looking, I would say, for when you get to marrying age, what I would say is you need to look at your circle and see who you're going to pair off with as far as marriage goes. You two get together and then figure out, you work out the details. You guys are going to have to tune into more of my money videos to understand, to maybe go into depth into that. But the goal here is for your kids not to have to grow up in the same economic situations that you did. Again, generational wealth. That may take you not going to, that may mean that you're doing the blue collar job and you guys are living below your means, so that there's so much information to cover here. But the important thing is that you may have to take the blue collar job and live below your means, so that whoever the breadwinner is, the secondary person, their job is to keep their eye on the family. That's who should be going to the PTA meetings. You see, now we're full circle with what we're talking about as far as the education goes with Shan and Mistaken, is that, well, because the breadwinner is working, the secondary person, because we're living below our means, doesn't have to work 40 to 50 hours a week. Now they have time to focus in on the kids to do exactly what Trigger Mike was talking about, making sure they develop the habits that are going to lead them to success in the school system. See, a lot of times what happens is that we get this idea of this lifestyle that we want to lead, but our incomes don't support it. So you end up trying to compensate by both of you working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And all of a sudden now you get home and you ain't got time for them kids that's coming in here running around. And what'd you do at school today? I don't know. And you don't have time to press them on it, to ask questions. The kids are getting bad marks in school and the teacher's sending you home information and you're not paying attention because you're too stressed out from your job. Neither parent wants to hear about it. Neither parent wants to deal with a PTA meeting or a teacher conference because they're too stressed out, because you're trying to support a lifestyle that you can't afford. See, this is where to bring this full circle, this is where that whole conversation goes in about you done took out all that debt for student loans to get a degree, to where you basically drowning in debt. And now you got to work like a slave to pay it off. What needs to happen is we need to do a better job of, number one, raising our kids. I say that all the time, right? Well, this falls in that preview. If we need to start doing a better job of family planning and start planning ahead for how we want to tackle certain topics. This is why I advocate for, yeah, we need to move the marrying age to 25, because now you have a couple of years for you and your husband or wife or whatever to plan out how you want your life to go. This conversation should definitely be a part of it, because again, we really talked about, we're off subject here because the title is When You Choose a Woman Who Lacks Class. But my whole thing is the family planning conversation is way more important. Because again, I would say that you should be looking for a spouse you guys are going to be in a similar class. Whether that's a socioeconomic class or, status, it's irrelevant as long as you know what you're dealing with up front. And again, the marrying age is 25. Now you have a couple of years where you guys can plan out how you want your life to go, plan out how you want, how you want to raise your children before that actually happens. And, because if you currently, the system now is that we're going to wait till after we're 30. And then as soon as we get married, well, I want kids. And then we're going to rush right into that. And then so we don't run into geriatric pregnancy. And then before you know it, we got these kids here and we don't know. We'll just go to school. But now, we got all this other stuff that we want to do and we don't have time for it because we're stuck at work trying to pay back the student loans that's drowning us in debt. And meanwhile, when we die, what we pass on to our kids, more debt. Vicious cycle, people. We got to do something about it. Need to do a better job of raising our kids. Guys, high level conversation for sure. Because we're going to have some more high level conversations because this video just touched the surface of this stuff, man. If you guys can't tell, I'm very passionate about the money conversations. A lot of times we don't get to have them, unfortunately, because we're still struggling with the basics of family planning. Until we move forward, like I said, there are 4 social constructs that are broken in our community. Vetting, way we raise our kids, concept of marriage, and the last one is finances. This hinted at the financial conversation. But again, if we don't have solutions, if we can't start fixing the other 3, the last one won't matter anyway. Even though I love talking about it. But hey, I'm going to say goes to the next time. Peace.